It has almost been 5 years since the release of Bloodborne, and there is still content created in 2020 with such masterpiece of a game. Due to the creation of From Software, has done fantastic throughout the years of their creation, following up to Sekiro and many other Souls games. And I honestly have to say, this is my first Souls game I've ever played, and wow, it is absolutely fantastic. And I honestly just want to get into the bosses, which is honestly the best part in Bloodborne without a doubt. So without further ado, let's get into the best bosses in Bloodborne, at least in my opinion, of the rest of this video. So let's get into it. Keep in mind, we're only going to count bosses that are necessarily part of the story and part of the dungeon. So if you don't see any bosses from the Old Hunters DLC, just be aware that I haven't gotten my chance on it yet, so eventually I will in a couple of weeks. Otherwise, I'll talk about them more than talk about the bosses in this gameplay. So sorry, Ludwig and Waifu Lady Maria. But for now, we're just going to count bosses that I personally felt like gave the most problems to everyone, and me, myself including. So that's a good thing as well. So just those bosses in particular. We're not going to count the bullshit from certain bosses that I felt like was stupid, and we're not going to count the boring bosses, and especially this piece of shit. Leave a like if you want to see more videos on this, but without further ado, here we go. This is it, my best bosses in Bloodborne, and let's go. If a boss fight was called Patience, this would be it. Rom the Vacuous Spider does not hold up and let up when it comes to people that don't have the patience for it. Rom doesn't let up and is definitely capable of hitting you within a couple of shots, especially if Rom hits you with those crystals, and those spiders are not something to mess around with. Although this fight doesn't really have anything to do with Rom, only because most of the time you're just focusing on spiders, then go for Rom. The main thing you really have to worry about is the AoE that Rom would do, and that's just about it. Otherwise, you got this fight in the books. I mean, there's nothing much to say about it, which is probably why it's not high on the list. If you do try to go for Rom, you gotta commit, because otherwise you gotta deal with a bunch of spiders during the third phase, and that's gonna cause you a lot of overwhelmness to this fight. Now imagine coming home from work after a long day, just minding your business, walking over a bridge, just to see and realize, whoa, what the hell is that? That's right. Always remember your furs. The Cleric Beast is indeed one of my favorite parts of Bloodborne bosses, only because it's just an incredible adaptation and an incredible introduction to a boss fight that I felt like was definitely necessary. Now this boss isn't challenging, it's just necessary as a first boss, and is honestly one of my favorite first bosses in a game overall. This boss, when I first went for it, I absolutely went nuts, and even if I died, I would just try again as if it was just nothing. It felt like a boss. It was the purpose of it. Everything about this fight, from the area that you're fighting in, although it's small and the boss itself isn't as challenging as what people would want it to be. I'm pretty sure most of us will never forget our first encounter with the Cleric Beast when he did that screech. Oh man, good times. This boss is honestly here just to punish the greedy. Seriously, you gotta be careful with your commits, because this boss will make sure you get good at hitting your shots. Otherwise, you're gonna have a hard time just getting to this boss in general. Undead Giant is indeed a fight that most people would have to have patience in order to get your shots. Mainly 2 hits, back up. 2 hits, back up. I know it's all about dodging and going back, but this boss is definitely gonna give some people a hard time if you're not good at getting your shots in. Otherwise, I don't have much to say about it. It's the first boss in the dungeon that I felt like gave me issue, even though he didn't really give me much of a problem. I was just there to make sure my hits were connecting as much as possible. But I actually never died to him. This was actually the first time I went for it, the first time I made the encounters, and the first time I managed to actually get to him. I heard he was tough. around, but honestly, I just did what I needed to do in order to defeat this boss. And yeah, he was whooping my ass at times, but that don't mean I ain't had that chance to just come back up. But that finish right there is a finish you would have to be careful. That's his AoE attack. It would hit you within a shot or two. You just can't, and I mean you can't let him get you with that hit. No matter what, that's just something that you're gonna have to try to avoid, but if you could do that, you'll get this. Now, this boss right here is a pain in the ass. This guy right here will make sure you get good at dodging and make sure you get good at getting your hits right, because if you don't, he's gonna punish you with every single hit he has on you. This guy is just the pain. This was the only time, well, next to this next boss that I'll show you in a couple of minutes of the video, but this is another boss I had to summon a player in order to defeat the boss with me, and I'm definitely gonna go back and defeat this boss alone. But this was just a boss I could not, and I mean could not do it. He's actually really tough, and I died multiple times just even trying to get to him. Just imagine just trying to go face to face with this boss, thinking, you know, he won't be as challenging. And I was wrong, you know, he was definitely tougher here, and I couldn't do it. This guy is just a pain, and congrats, you know, you did it. You completely broke me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. This boss is just a pain. Now honestly, this is the only boss I've never died to. This boss is seriously way too easy for me in my personal opinion. Now, it has an AoE attack that whenever you just give him space, or her, but whatever this thing is that cries a lot, it basically just does this thing where the whole entire arena goes black and summons itself. That's right. The only attacks really is attacks that don't even do much damage. Murgle's Wet Nurse is the definition of a boss that just was added into a game just to be there, just for a purpose, I guess. Now this boss is honestly on the list just because it's cool looking. I mean, I personally love the way how this boss was designed, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it was just way too easy. This is honestly a boss I'd never died to. However, this boss is a complete opposite. The Bloodletting Beast is indeed an issue to a lot of players that possibly quit on getting the Platinum Trophy. This right here is the goal for a Platinum Trophy if anyone even tries it or is capable or willing to get this. And honestly, I died only once to this boss due to how greedy I was. Same with the other beast that I had an issue with being a little greedy, although that one I didn't necessarily die to. This was more of a challenge based to the hit marks that this beast does right here. Bloodletting Beast also is another beast you have to be careful of, because with the AoE slam, he will instant kill you. Like, it doesn't matter. That's just an instant kill. Otherwise, if you could do that, be aware with the slam and be aware with its poison. You honestly got this in the books. This covers up everything about the dungeons, and this is a boss you're gonna have to get through in order to get this Platinum Trophy. I honestly hate this boss, but to be more obscure, I hate this arena you honestly fight in. I mean, it's small, the spaces just isn't clear, and you never know where the attacks are gonna land when it comes to this boss. Captain Hook is indeed aggressive in and out of its position. He doesn't really give a damn what you think. You know, he really doesn't care about you as a player, clearly, because he just doesn't give you enough space to even pop blood vials if you want to. This guy is just seriously on your dick, and if you let him, well, here comes the pain. I get it, these are meant to be hard games, but when it comes to this guy is the definition of unfairness. He's just a piece of crap with a hook, and the more I talk about him, the more he's probably gonna whoop my ass when I go back to the dungeons and having to face him again because I want to. This game is just incredible, it has great replay values, and this guy has just forced me to not do it, but I will. Eventually I got the hang of his hits and knew that I was able to carry. It was just difficult at times, but knowing that you was able to carry him, it just made it a lot easier. I just didn't have the chance because obviously, as you could tell, I was out of bullets. although it could have been much better as a fight and more fair, I just felt like this boss just kind of gave me a little rush to the head. It was the first boss I actually had a rage quit. It was honestly that serious for me at the time, but knowing what to do, eventually I was able to bake this piece of crap and just, yeah, I conquered it. It felt relieved. It wasn't the boss. I was just like, oh my god, I did it. Yes, I did it! It was more like, thank goodness I don't have to deal with this piece of crap again. Martin Ligarius is without a doubt one of the best bosses in Bloodborne. I mean, this boss has everything that you kind of need in order to succeed on this boss. This boss is honestly the definition of get good, kid, because he will make you pay for everything you've missed and everything you tend to do to give him space. At first, with the encounter of this boss, when I first encountered him on New Game Plus, because I was an idiot, I didn't know that there was other optional bosses I was able to face. This game was completely new to me, and I had the options to do it, and I just didn't face this guy. But facing him on New Game Plus was an honest pain. It just made it harder. He had more health, and I knew I didn't have a chance. Although eventually on my third try, facing him on New Game Plus, it was one of my favorite moments of Bloodborne because we both killed each other, but I still had that trophy anyways in order to defeat him. And it felt good. I was just laughing, you know, it wasn't nothing serious even though I lost to him as well. It just felt good to at least get a chance to beat him until eventually I started an entire new game because I love this game so much I had to, and yeah, he totally obliterated me. He whooped me until I was taught a lesson, until eventually I knew I had it and the chance, and yeah, just took care of him. Honestly, you just need patience. Now this is another boss that people had trouble with that I honestly didn't. But there's no shame because Ibridus is a boss that is just like an NPC would look like if it was a creature, but has a face of a vagina. I mean, what is that? A vagina with eyes. Anyways, Erebus is a perfect boss to face when it's a creature that you undeniably think that wouldn't be tough since it's a creature. You just go behind and hit it a couple of times, then back up, then repeat. No, this boss right here kind of makes you just want to keep backing up, then wait for that right hit and just keep going. You just have to get the momentum right in order to successfully beat this boss. But yeah, Door of Cosmos is undoubtedly a tough fight. And I mean, if you get hit by this thing twice, you're just dead. There's no way of, oh, you know, try again. So, well, obviously there is. But pretty much I'm saying this boss is tough for many reasons. Although I never had an issue with this boss was fun to beat. It was just a perfect boss that I felt like gave up that right amount of challenge, and for that, Abritus, I salute you with nothing. You was just a great boss.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later.
Finding out that Father Gascoigne was the guy that caused an insane amount of players to quit one of my favorite games of all time was a relief that I was able to beat him on my 4th attempt. It honestly was fantastic. Everything about this fight I love. From the yard to everything about it. It's just a great place and a great fight for honestly the first official fight of the game that you have to do in order to go to the next area. Some may say the Cleric Beast, but that honestly just depends. Cleric Beast is more of an optional boss. The Father Gascoigne is the guy that you have to go to in order to make it to the next area. But this fight, I just honestly love it, and honestly it's without a doubt one of the best boss fights in Bloodborne, and I honestly think in gaming history. I mean, this guy costs what, half the amount of percentages of the players that has played Bloodborne to quit. It's insane to me, and just everything about this fight just went perfectly well. It's just something I honestly would love to go back and be over and over and over again if I had the chance to, which I do, and I will sooner or later whenever I get the chance to play the old Hunters DLC. But honestly, this is a great fight, fantastic. It's overall 10 out of 10. Mwah, masterpiece. This is a masterpiece. And yeah, it's just great. This guy. You're looking at the boss that I died the most to in my first official 101 with the Dark Beast Pearl. This boss I absolutely loved. I mean, this is my favorite design to the boss in Bloodborne. But one thing that I do hate about it, I have to say, would have to be trying to stutter. But honestly, just stunning him isn't really that hard. Honestly, it's not. But what gets me is the fact that he's quick, extremely quick and aggressive, and this is just another beast that'll make you pay for not being so aggressive and just not playing Bloodborne's official adaptation of the game in general. It's honestly one of my favorite bosses I've faced, and playing it on just new game for the second time, I got him on my third attempt due to me not actually trying. On the first two, I didn't pop no type of blood vials, so I didn't want to heal. I didn't want to waste it because I didn't have enough at the time. But just honestly, all you have to do for this boss is just stagger it and get in a couple of hits and repeat. Otherwise, you got this one in the books, but I was being too greedy in its position, and of course I failed to be Dark Para in my couple of tries, and this is the boss I died to the most on my first playthrough with him on New Game Plus, which was much harder, and I have to pay for those consequences because, well, yeah, I didn't get to stagger him as much, and as much as I hate actually fighting him in this arena, Dark Beast Pearl is indeed one of my favorite fights in Bloodborne. This boss right here is without a doubt the hardest boss I've ever had to face. Seriously, fuck this guy. Who designed this abomination right here? You do not deserve to get hired. This boss right here is just completely insane. Now let's not forget, you only have half your normal health as you originally had before. This is just crazy. This entire dungeon is hard enough as it is, but this boss just completely made my head boil. Honestly, it's just a very tough fight you're going to have to get past through in order to get the actual platinum. I feel like this guy would be it. But everything that I did, every chance I had, I failed and I blew it. Literally, it went off the roof. This guy is just crazy, and if you let him, just every single hit he has on you is just an AoE, especially that Russian that he does. But just, if you get hit by this guy, it's just one or two. There's no going back. Honestly, it's a one-shot. You have to try to stay away from it as soon as possible. If not, then you just fail as a player to conduct it, and you're just a terrible player overall. Of course, eventually, I actually managed to beat this guy, and it felt relieved. It was actually a boss I was honestly happy that I got a chance to beat, so woohoo. Amelia, without a doubt, is my favorite boss I've ever faced in Bloodborne. This boss gave me so much trouble, but in my first playthrough, if I'm going to be honest, I beat her on my third attempt, which was shocking because I thought she gave me the most time and issue, because she will make you get used to Bloodborne's adaptation. If it wasn't Father Gascoigne that did it for you, Vicar Amelia is going to punish you with everything you let up into her, and especially if you just there's so many things about Vicar Amelia I love, but it's honestly the boss that I felt bad fighting, because if you actually know her backstory and the things that has happened to her and what has happened to her in the clip, it's just everything about it makes me feel so overwhelmed, but in a good way, in a way that I am honored to go one-on-one with this enormous beast, and playing her on New Game Plus was just, oh my god. She gave me the most trouble, I'd have to say. Vicar Amelia is without a doubt one of the hardest boss in Bloodborne, and is Bloodborne's at its best and at its finest. The final showdown is without a doubt the best fight, and is definitely my favorite final boss fight in history of gaming. I loved everything about this fight, from the soundtrack to this beautiful area you're playing in to the adaptation. And I think what made me hate Moon Presence, boss battle was the fact that it not only was too easy, but it's just sharing the same arena as this beautiful, just beautiful boss fight you're facing. And it wasn't hard, my first attempt, of course, as my first Souls game, it took me, like, I'd say my fifth attempt, it took me to beat Gurman. But honestly, besides that, I never lost him since. He's pretty much easy, like, once you get the hang of it. This game really does focus and really does well on getting used to all these NPCs you run around to, and really prepares you for this fight. And that's something I honestly love about this boss fight in general. It's something that gets you going, gets you prepared for everything you need to know about Bloodborne at its finest. And it's just what an emotional ride, a roller coaster from this battle. And I honestly loved every single one of this fight to the ending. And it was just perfect for a boss fight in general, but most importantly, a final boss fight I will always remember in gaming history. I'll never forget the chills I had when Gurman got off from his wheelchair just to battle you out in a hunter versus hunter, student versus teacher, was overall incredible and easily my favorite moment in gaming. But that's about wraps it up. Bloodborne is my favorite game of all time, and it's easily one of the greatest games of all time, without doubt. And I'm not just saying that just because it's a game that I played that I fell in love with. It's seriously a game that has something for everyone, not like the IGN guy says, but basically a game that is everyone to enjoy, even though it's as challenging as it can be, but it is fairly challenged as what most players would attempt over and over again in order to defeat something that you once thought would have no hope. Anyways, let me know what are your thoughts. Who's your favorite boss in the game? Any other options or opinions you want me to discuss about? Do you want me to talk about the old hunters? Let me know, and I will talk about each and every one of those bosses. But without a doubt, and foremost, peace.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.